Secret friends, unite!
Hey, Secret Friends, welcome back to Secret Friends Unite. Oops! All Thunderdome. This is, of course, our show where we focus on talking about a single topic. And we're digging back into a little series that Peter and I started. Golly, Peter, did we do the first one of these
a long time ago.
Like in January? Because, yeah, when I took over the show, and we're joined by Kurt as well. Kurt, good evening. How you doing?
Doing good.
But when I took over the show, which is now, it's been almost a year since Peter and I have been running the network, which is very exciting. But when my old partner and I, Todd, started, we started in 2014. Well, the Marvel Cinematic Universe started in 2008. So between 2008 and basically the summer of 2014, we had not discussed those movies in length because we started discussing with Avengers Age of Ultron in 2015. So we had not even talked, we had not even talked Captain America Winter Soldier. We hadn't talked Guardians of the Galaxy, both of which came out that summer. We started in the fall. So what I said to Peter is, let's do, as time allows, and time has not allowed us until now to get back to another movie, let's do the movies we haven't covered. So that is Iron Man 2008 all the way through Guardians of the Galaxy 2014. So, and I was talking about the guys about this in the pre-roll, I kind of leapfrogged over the Incredible Hulk 2008 because in studying my chronology, Iron Man and Iron Man 2, which is what we're going to talk about in this episode, are only 6 months apart in time frame, and it kind of bumps into the Incredible Hulk. So that's what we're going to talk about this evening, right after I give some love and respect to people just like Kurt, who are our wonderful patrons over at patreon.com/secretfriendsunite, where you do get exclusive programs. Peter and I just recently got into the last phase of talking about Ron Moore's Battlestar Galactica, one of the greatest television shows of all time, on the Facts of Geek Life. My wife April and I do a great Bad Movies podcast, and at her behest, we're going to start doing a Good Movies podcast. So we're going to pick out some of the best films that are out there, and we're going to talk about those on kind of a rotating basis. But those are exclusive shows that are just available to our wonderful patrons, and you can jump on board with the Patreon for your first week for free. You can even stay on board as a completely free member if that's what you want. But if you stay on board and enjoy all the podcasts, it's half off your first month after that first week, and then you stay on board for as little as $2 a month. We would love to have you support the channel, and it helps us do what we do. So we'd be very, very grateful about that. And all of our shows also come out early. This show, for example, you're listening to it on a Thursday, where patrons get it on a Tuesday. So, hey, a little bit of extra lift earlier in your week. Patreon.com/secretfriendsunite. Okie dokie. The MCU in reverse is what I properly call this, because does that mean we should be doing it backwards, or we go to the front and then moving forwards? I don't know. We're already rolling. I'm asking too many questions of myself here. Yeah. But at any rate,
we're talking about it's all good.
I did. This was before Thanos too. But Iron Man 2 is as I said, a 2010 American superhero film based on the Marvel Comics character of the same name, produced by Marvel Studios and distributed by Paramount Pictures. So we were talking about that in the pre-roll. Marvel Studios was an entity, but Disney did not own them and put out a movie until 2012's The Avengers. This is a sequel to Iron Man from 2008 and the third film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So we'll go back to the second film later this year when we do another one of these. Directed again by Jon Favreau and written by Justin Theroux. And I've got some notes on that later because Justin Theroux is a very well-known actor, but as I dug into his background, I was surprised how accomplished he is as a screenwriter and a director, but we'll talk about that more later. The film stars Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark / Iron Man alongside Gwyneth Paltrow, Don Cheadle, Scarlett Johansson, Sam Rockwell, Mickey Rourke, and Samuel L. Jackson. In the film, Stark rejects government demands to share his Iron Man suit technology, which is ironically slowly killing him, somewhat ironically. Russian scientist Ivan Vanko Rourke creates his own version and plots revenge against the Stark family. Filming took place from April to July of 2009, mostly in California, as it was with the first film. A key sequence was filmed in Monaco. Unlike its predecessor, which mixed digital and practical effects, the sequel primarily relied on computer-generated imagery to create the Iron Man suits, which was very much a sign of the times. And as we know, by more modern cinematography in the last year or so, we're kind of tilting back in the other direction, which to me, Kurt, you and I are the same age. We've enjoyed all the films of the 80s and stuff where there was no CGI imagery. And Peter, you're not that much younger than us. So you remember old practical models and stuff. So I like it. I like, the Odyssey and the kind of stuff that they did with that, or Spider-Man Brand New Day, which we all enjoyed and talked about recently, kind of doing that kind of thing. So I think that's pretty cool. Iron Man 2 released in the United States on May 7 as part of Phase 1 of the MCU. Critics praised Donnie's performance, but deemed the sequel to be inferior to the first film. It grossed $623 million, making it the seventh highest grossing film of 2012. Isn't that crazy in a time when we're just getting out of the cloud of the post-COVID box office where we have a couple of billion-dollar movies? I mean, Spider-Man Brand New Day now topping $2 million globally. But 5 years ago, coming out of COVID, something couldn't scratch two-thirds of that, or a third of that, really. A successful film was considered. Right. So it's crazy. The film was nominated for Best Visual Effects at the 83rd Academy Awards, amongst other accolades. A sequel, Iron Man 3, was released in 2013, and of course, we will get there eventually. By the numbers, 72% on Rotten Tomatoes, making it certified fresh. 71% audience score, or the popcorn meter. So, not a poorly performing film. More beloved than some, if we were to go back and look at maybe some of the more recent Rotten Tomato scores on some of the Marvel films.
Yeah.
I think 70% probably sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to go ahead and do this the way that we always do. We're going to talk about, this is really spoiler intensive because this is a 16-year-old film. So I'm pretty sure you've seen it, but you're just listening to our thoughts about it.
If you haven't, go see it.
Yeah, go see it, please. It is available. Oh, and I should always mention these films are, of course, available on Disney+, available on physical media, and purchase on video on demand on sites like Fandango at Home and Amazon, and a place to get physical media as well. So as we always do, we'll talk about favorite moments, and we'll talk about spoilers, missed opportunities, weird plot holes, and etc. And then we'll score it 1 to 10, and we'll also talk about some fun trivia as well. So, Kurt, you are to my immediate right, because the new layout of our video screens is that we're in a row. We didn't used to be. So I'm on the far left. Kurt's the monkey in the middle. Let's talk about things you enjoyed about this film. Fire away.
Okay, I'm going to start off with my favorite moment of the film. When Black Widow was beating up all those guards, and as she's walking away, she just maces the one guy. I remember laughing so loud, and I still did that. That was the best scene in the whole film, in my opinion. Loved it. I loved ScarJo and her debut as Natasha.
Oh, so hot. She was about 25 years old.
Indeed. And I did like the little Easter egg about Spider-Man. That little boy was
Yes, and that did come out years later, but yeah, it is confirmed in your big third act, big shootout. The little boy that walks in front of one of the drones that locks. Oh, that's Iron Man. Is little Peter Parker? He's wearing a plastic, get it at Target Iron Man mask and a Stark Expo T-shirt.
It was the legit Hasbro helmet that you could get after the film came out,
and it's just a faceplate, so it's not an actual. I don't know if it was an actual thing, but
I thought it was a full helmet.
But he would have been with Aunt May and Uncle Ben at that point. The Uncle Ben we've never seen, which I don't know if you've ever seen the meme, but it's aped from Seinfeld, and it's a picture of Jason Alexander with Marissa Tomei, and it says, "Until Cato Cannon proves me differently, this is Uncle Ben."
Oh no! Oh no!
That works for me.
I did like also Sam Rockwell as Justin Hammer. I loved his little happy dance when he gets out of the stage.
Here's the best part of the film. I will say, while I love ScarJo and certainly raises the hackles everywhere on my body to see her do anything, Sam Rockwell owned the film, especially when he's going through and doing all of the tech mods and talking about the different weapons he's putting on the Mark II when Rhodey comes in with it. The ex-wife, someone who has two ex-wives, it'll destroy everything it touches. It'll blow up the bunker under the bunker. I call this the ex-wife.
it was a pretty hilarious spiel.
It's so apropos.
And then it bounces off Dynamo at the end.
Yeah. Oh my God. All right, Peter, how about you?
Favorite moments. There's a couple. One of the ones, and I know it was in the trailer, so it's kind of low hanging fruit, is Tony at his lowest, chilling in the big donut.
And I've been to a Randy's Donuts in LA, and they're pretty cool.
But it's just such an iconic scene of Tony like at rock bottom, but still being an absolute menace to society. Just chilling in the donut, and then Natasha and Nick Fury have to like be like, get your ass down from there. Like,
well, I'm trying to get you back to work, and then give him a shot of whatever.
Of a certain
and I did like that scene. Looks to me like little brother, kick your ass.
A little bit. That was one of mine. We haven't gotten to talking about plot holes, but that's definitely one of mine. So,
but I really liked the scene with him figuring out Howard's little maze for him to
his master plan, his all the little Easter eggs within the Easter eggs.
The map and how he figures it out. I mean, the hilarious scene is him driving home with it in the convertible, but him
sticking out the back.
But him figuring out how to like remove this, and oh my goodness,
right?
This is what it is. Like that's a really well done scene.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And speaking of Tony, I loved overall. I said I both love and I roll my eyes at the exceptional arrogance of Stark, particularly in the first act. I privatize peace. I'm the guy. The world is safe because of me. It's like, but then we segue immediately to him working in his lab and figuring out that his palladium core is killing him, and he knows he's dying, but he's keeping it to him. So he's having a literal lethal midlife crisis, and keeping it all to himself. And then he's got Rhodey saying, you got to open it. You got to tell me what's going on. And then I'll get into my notes about Pepper Potts later on, because I think as a character, she takes a terrible turn in this film that I'm not fond of.
She doesn't have a good.
Yeah, but I'll talk about that. I'll talk about that in a minute. But the suit up of narration of Hammer and all of the Mark II stuff with the ex-wife, that was I noted too. But I did love Tony's big montage where he's setting up the big pipe. I wrote whatever the hell he did with the pipes, and the shit doesn't make a lot of sense, but he turns it into an energy pipe that he has a big wrench that he's got to turn a laser beam to zap the thing that creates the new core for that. It's okay. It's all good, but it doesn't really, it's just, maybe I'm not a science guy.
Too. And with Cap Shield too.
Cap Shield. And they
said the prototype of it,
And did they say at some point there was a picture of, was it in this film or was it in The Incredible Hulk, where there was a picture of, maybe it was in the Hulk, that the Hulk was in the Arctic or something, or in one of the pictures, and in the background of it you see Captain America frozen in ice or something. I don't know. It came to mind because of this. So,
well, I don't think it's in this one.
Yeah, I was just with all the different Easter eggs. There's a great Easter egg scene at the very end, and I was trying to find notes on it to put in our notes section. But if you look at the infograph when Tony's sitting in the big room, there's all these call outs of like Wakanda and all this like blah, blah, blah. Like maybe one calls out Doomsday. Well, no, at this point, I think Fantastic Four was totally forbidden.
Latveria is mentioned, but I don't think it's in this film. It is mentioned very briefly in the background in Infinity War.
There you go. Okay. Because they were. I think by that point the Fox acquisition had happened, so they can get away with that. Yeah. I wrote the debut of Scarlet as the Widow, and I did write. I'm reminded of a quote by Michael Keaton doing press for Batman Returns in 1992, and I paraphrase this: "They're going to have smelling salts or eye drops in the theaters to revive the men whose eyes roll back in their heads and they pass out." Tell me I'm wrong, because just look at her. Think about Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman paired up with this. Oh my God. And super cool. You guys probably all saw the Vision Quest trailer for the Vision Quest Disney Plus series that's going to be out in October. All of Tony's various AIs, including the dummy robots, are all coming back in that show as part of the AI construct that Vision lives in, that you see in that trailer.
I'm curious to see how they're going to personify Dummy.
Yeah, they're either two butlers or they're two handymen, is what it looked like in the trailer.
It looks like they flip flop.
Yeah,
we'll see what they do.
I absolutely love
really
it.
Funny.
All right. Well, let's talk missed opportunities, weird plot holes, etc. Kurt, go ahead.
Well, I do agree with Peter. I liked how the montage of him finding the cure for his condition, but he discovers a new element to the periodic table. I thought that was
It's a little Mary Sue, huh?
a little Mary Sue, but you know what? We can suspend disbelief because it was just such a cool scene.
Yeah,
true. True.
It was a cool scene. I also thought that, they left Vanko's fate ambiguous. I'd like to believe the guy's dead. Let him rest.
That's all they did in Axler always made the point. That's all they ever did in these early films and in super films is that they'll have a villain and then they kill him off. Which in the comics, sure, villains die, but generally all right, Dr. Octopus has an arc in Amazing Spider-Man. He gets defeated. He disappears for 10 to 15, maybe 20 issues, and he comes back. So he's alive, but he's in jail, or I escaped, or whatever it is. But in these movies, they just kill him. They're always dead. So that it's just
ambiguous.
Or ambiguous, yeah.
Captain America, Red Skull is in the film. He's effectively dead, but we find out not so much.
Yes, he becomes a ghost in the ether. Yeah, right, exactly. My cousin Amy, I love my cousin Amy Smith Townsend, who lives in Madison, Wisconsin. I remember this movie came out at the time, and I was out for some reason. We were hanging out, and she would watch this movie with her young kids, which I don't know if it's a great young kids movie, but whatever. She said, she said about Pepper in this movie, she went from sweet and charming in the first movie to being just a castrating bitch in this movie. Everything she does is so mean. And I understand that Tony's terrible to be around, but it's what a ball buster. It just seems so unnecessary for her to just be so nasty.
I don't know.
I thought it was too much.
I thought some scenes were justified, but maybe not all of them. I mean, some, like the party where he puts her in charge of Stark Enterprises. Yeah, I think she'd be a little testy. I don't blame her, but some other scenes, it's like she couldn't shut it off.
Yeah. Well, she was surprised that he's a dipshit. It's like, what are you surprised about? You're around this guy all the time. You practically wiped this guy's butt. So why are you surprised that he was? And speaking of things that are gross, thinking of Tony Stark's butt, not super cool to see Elon Musk in this movie. Can we digitally erase him? They do that in other stuff all the time. Yeah, hopefully they'll take Trump out of Home Alone 2 someday.
It's a product of its time. We'll see.
It's a product of its time.
We'll see how time tempers.
Yeah, so. That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. Speaking of Mickey Rourke and leaving his fate ambiguous, I don't really find it ambiguous on the racetrack in Monaco when Happy drives the Mercedes into him and crushes him against the wall, and he's like, "Roar, I'm Russian, I can't be stopped." He's not wearing armor. No, he's wearing an orange jumpsuit, which historically does not have great protection against a 3,000-pound car going 60 miles an hour.
If you wear reflective orange, you're safe from
reflective belts. You ask your brother about that one in the car. That's something my brother always joked about. The reflective belts.
Wasn't his legs covered in armor beneath?
No, nothing. He was just wearing one of the
prison jumpsuit.
Just like a mechanic's jumpsuit. So I wrote, that's Russian potato vodka stuff. Tough, not stuff. Tough.
That is something that pops up in some superhero films, especially earlier on, where there's like a bad guy who has no powers and he can take like all the hits. I mean, they still do it, like Captain America, New World Order. Sam has not taken the super soldier serum,
but he can still get smacked around
and getting punched by the Hulk.
Yeah, no big deal. I'll just go around it. I'll walk it off.
Walk it off. Like, I don't think so.
Yeah.
So it's a thing. It's not as egregious here as it is in New World Order and some other stuff, but it is still noticeable. It's like you got hit by a car going 50 miles an hour, if not higher.
I'll just shake it
against
off
the wall, and it's like
I'll be fine.
I'll just cut the side of the car off. I'll be fine. Yeah,
It's no big deal. And Kurt, you'll appreciate this as a comic reader. Obviously, going back to the Demon in the Bottle, and you know, and all our friends Bob Layton and other people that you and I know in the industry. So that was a pivotal role, obviously, in the early '80s. Watching Tony's alcoholism is tough, particularly in that birthday party scene. But again, maybe it's the nature of the movie, but that just gets wrapped up super quick and never seems to come back again. He just, boom, he's cold turkey. He's not dealing with any of the other consequences. He's cured. He doesn't go to meetings. He's not struggling. Yeah. So I don't know. But I mean, that to work that into this film, I think would be very difficult, but it's still kind of a cop-out in a lot of ways too. I've known alcoholics in my life. I know how they struggle with it. I know they go to meetings and stuff. So, but how do you work that in?
They could have shown it where after he gets the cure for his condition, there could have been a bottle of booze and you could just see him leave it be.
Right. Or destroy it. Pew! Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that would have been a good thing. I mean, it could also have been that they were just like, oh, well, everyone will understand that he's only doing this because he's worried, and it's not exactly an addiction per se.
Right. It's just death wish, and he's spiraling out and stuff.
That's the only way I can think of to like interpret it in a way that could make sense.
Yeah, that's fair. So I'm a geography nut, and my wrinkle of Mickey Rourke calling Stark to say, I'm going to attack you in 40 minutes and destroy everything that you have. And he's referring to the Stark Expo, which is in Queens, New York City. Yep. Tony is at home in his Malibu mansion in Malibu, California, 3,000 miles away. How does Iron Man get there in 40 minutes?
I think
the transporter.
The transporter. I think that's a big of a gap. I was also really bummed out.
He might have done a quantum leap, you know.
You think so? I don't know. Went through a little temporal wormhole. I think it's super bummer that with all the drones being rolled out, nothing for the Coast Guard. Ouch! I've known several Coasties in my life. They're good guys. But yeah, what's the Coast Guard going to do? It would be like a little boat. Would it be a drone boat?
I mean, it would be whatever the Navy is. It just stays closer to home.
Yeah, I guess. All right. So I've been talking. So, Peter, any detractors for you? Things you found out to be kind of a bummer?
I think some of the wrap up for Vanko was a little too quick for me.
Okay.
Because like he relied a lot on the drones, and then he came out and did like a couple things, and then just got blasted. Which he's just
a lot of build up.
He doesn't
for
really
all his
know
angst.
what he's doing, and so he gets blown away. Okay, fine. But it did. There's part of it that felt a little quick for that, and then I did like how they dealt with Hammer's ending. Like that worked out fine, but Vanko just kind of tied up a little bit too quickly.
Yeah,
and there was something for me of the question of like, yes, Tony Stark can build this in a cave with a bunch of scraps, but why can
box of scraps?
But why can this guy? Yes, his dad was the one who helped design, not build, design the arc reactor. So what? Like, yeah, he's smart. Okay, but how can he build a mini arc reactor? So for me, that was the biggest point of like,
everybody can do it.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like stretching. Like, again, for the point of plot and everything, it needs to work. But for me, that was one of those like, and because of how big of a deal they made of it in the first film, it just seemed to be a little bit of an undercut to, well, now another supervillain figured it out. Like, couldn't he use a different power source or something?
Yeah, right.
And then maybe steal like an arc reactor. I mean, yeah, that'll make it like Iron Man 1 and like every other time someone steals an arc reactor, but it might make a little bit more sense to me. True. Yeah, that's probably the biggest like weird hole for me in that.
The biggest weird hole.
Everyone else, everything else kind of makes sense. Like the motivation, like Hammer being an absolute jackwagon.
Yeah.
I love Tony putting him in his place in front of Congress. That was hilarious.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, everything works. Oh yeah, really? Let me throw this book on the screen, and the guy twists in half. Like, ugh.
Oh my God. That pilot did survive. And I love Gary Shandling as Senator Stern, which is very pointed because Roger Stern is a big-time Marvel creator,
Yep.
who we would love to have on the show, but Kurt and I have talked about that. I haven't been able to get him. And we do later find out that he is an agent of Hydra. Sorry to spoil that, but he is a true villain.
Yeah.
Boo!
I did like the scene with him. Bleep you, Mr. Stark.
Yeah, when
Yeah. Like,
and then at the end, when he's doing the medal ceremony and he stabs Tony with the thing, and says, "Oh, isn't it funny how a little prick can just ruin everything?"
Yeah. Like the interactions in this film, like, are just hilarious. Like, yeah, some of the story is not as, like, some of the story and character arcs may not be as strong as the first film.
Right.
But it definitely has its moments that keep the film going.
Hey,
So
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Peter.
No, please.
No.
I enjoyed this. I enjoyed this movie. I loved it when it came out. I still think it holds up. Some scenes, okay, like Mosca, not so much.
Yeah, right.
But I enjoyed this more than I did the third one. And
go ahead and take us to the next segment and give us your rating out of 10. Go for it.
Okay, but before I do that, I just wanted to point out two other things.
Sure.
Gosh, this movie came out a decade before the pandemic, and he says to Pepper, "Put on a mask." And then,
I didn't pick up on that.
because she was coughing at the beginning. And then the scene where he's talking to Fury about Howard, his dad.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he hated me. And he
Yeah.
said, you didn't know your old man. And then we see that scene in Endgame. It gave it a little bit more poignance seeing it after all this time.
Yeah, agreed.
That, all said and done, a rating, I would give it about between an 8 and an 8.5. Okay, maybe an 8.2. I just enjoyed it.
Oh, we're getting really fractional. Yeah, that's cool. I dig it. Peter, how about you?
I would probably give it an 8. Like, it does a lot of heavy lifting for Tony's character later on, like Kurt was pointing out, with especially a lot of the stuff with Howard, because we don't see anything with Howard in the first film other than like a reference. But, but this one like really brings that relationship, and that relationship is very important to Tony's character growth throughout his entire life in the MCU. Even, as you mentioned, even to the final heroic bit in Endgame.
Right.
So
it turned him into Dr. Doom. Oh, what? Spoiler.
Oh, wait, what?
Sorry. What?
So I think that this film does have its flaws, and it's definitely not like my most favorite of the Iron Man films. But I think that, like, on rewatch, it's like there's a lot of solid stuff in here, and it does a lot of good world building. And so, like, for all of its flaws, it's a solid setup film and it's a solid sequel. Like, it's like may not be as good as the original, but not every sequel has to be.
Right.
So
right. Well, ironically, I was at about a 7.5. I could stretch that to an 8. You know, getting a sequel right is hard. Godfather 2, got it. Empire Strikes Back is my favorite Star Wars film. I think it got it. But I just don't think they got it there. I didn't love Mickey Rourke as a villain. He was riding high off of, what was that? The Wrestler was his big career comeback, which he played a scuzzy character. So he plays a scuzzy character here. That's just kind of his space. ScarJo coming on board really made up for that. Oh my God, in every conceivable way. Pepper is awful. Sam Rockwell is great. So you kind of got it's very peaks and valleys, just a lot of up and down. You see Tony go from his arc of being the most obnoxious guy in the world to being very vulnerable, to learning a lesson, to turning things around with Pepper. So it's certainly better than the Hulk movie that was, I would say, that followed it or was kind of around it, because that movie is universally reviled, if you look at it that way. So I'm kind of with Kurt in a lot of ways. I think I enjoyed it more than I used to, with the benefit of knowing how it really influenced what came after it. So Kurt, I love it. This is not grade school, man. You don't have to raise your hand, but thanks for not interrupting, but go ahead.
We forgot to mention Don Cheadle. This is his debut as War Machine.
And I do have notes, and the extensive notes about that. But yes, I will, about how he was taking over for Terrence Howard. So let me get into some notes, and that'll be the second note I give. But Scarlett Johansson dyed her hair red even before she got the part of Natasha Romanoff, because she wanted it so badly. They say in sports, he just wanted it more.
Though the shade of red is very different in this film from what it is later.
It is. Yeah, she continues to diet and change it. So, to Kurt's point, Terrence Howard, who is replaced by Don Cheadle in the part of Rhodes for no apparent reason, claimed that his original 3-picture deal and matching salary was not honored by Marvel. Entertainment Weekly later claimed that director Jon Favreau had not been happy with Howard's performance in Iron Man, often reshooting or cutting his scenes. Ooh. For the sequel, Favreau and co-writer Justin Theroux purposely reduced Howard's screen time, which led Marvel to ask Howard, who had been the best paid actor in Iron Man, to accept an 80% pay cut. Well, gee, I wonder why they did that, because they wanted to get rid of him. They did the same thing to Jeremy Renner in reference to bringing back the Hawkeye TV series. Of course he said no. Well, let me give you 2/3 less, you know what I mean? Although Marvel supposedly maintained it was because they didn't consider Howard vital to the film's commercial success. Naturally, Howard refused, claiming the real reason for the pay cut was to meet Robert Downey Jr.'s reported 2,000% salary increase. Well, why wouldn't they? He was the star of the film. He's not going to be the best paid guy. Yeah, this is starting to stink. Cheadle was brought in as replacement in Rhodes. Rhodes' role was beefed up again. Insiders later confirmed that former Marvel CEO Ike Perlmutter, not a good guy, replaced Howard because he refused to meet the increased demands. Perlmutter was later replaced by Kevin Feige, and we love Kevin, thus, like in the Kevin acronym that we see in She-Hulk, for allegedly defending the recasting of Rhodes, saying that all black actors look the same. That's what Perlmutter said. Holy shit. Oh my God. Although Howard initially blamed Downey Jr.
I get for being face blind, but that's rough.
Yeah, exactly.
That's no.
Howard initially blamed RDJ for taking the money that was supposed to go to him and pushing him out, especially since he had recommended Downey Jr. for the role. Both the actors would later make amends. What a horrible story. Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. Oh, my goodness. So I like Don Cheadle very much. So and I don't have anything against Terrence Howard, but it's like, what's another famous swap out there? Like, well, you couldn't imagine Tom Selleck as Indiana Jones, but that's the way it was going to be. You know what I mean? So I really, things worked out the way, but what an ugly story. And again, proving that Ike Perlmutter is an absolutely terrible guy. So not a big surprise there. So, Kurt, this is another one for you. At 1 hour, 30 minutes to dance, Sam Rockwell, as Justin Hammer does just before presenting the drones at the expo, was improvised and something he does to help get himself into character. May also be a nod to former Microsoft CEO Steve Ballmer, who is known for his energetic stage presence.
Wow, doing Microsoft instead of Apple. Bold move, Cotton.
I know, yeah. Let's see if it works out. Robert Downey Jr. gained 20 pounds of muscle for his role as Tony Stark. I did notice that when because he was pulling his shirt up or doing something, and he did look very gaunt and skinny in the first film, but a lot of that I felt like had to do with, he spent 3 months in a cave or whatever.
Yeah.
But he's really good at coming up, because remember how starved he looked in the beginning of Endgame because he was stranded in space? But I thought maybe a lot of that was CGI. But anyway, he's one of those guys who can go, like Peter, he's one of those guys like you can lose weight like that.
Wish I could.
Yeah, I know. Peter's got the touch. This film has cameos from 2 actresses who co-starred in movies also based in Marvel Comics. Kate Mara plays a U.S. Marshal that serves Tony Starks with papers, and we are not going to say what film she was in because to me it doesn't exist. That would be Fantastic Four 2015. It's not real. And also making a cameo is Olivia Munn, who plays a TV show presenter. Munn played Psylocke in X-Men Apocalypse. That is also a movie that doesn't exist. So you know what? This note didn't exist. It's been Thanos because those are not real. Kurt, coming back to you again, this film's plot has a resemblance to a storyline in the comic called Armor Wars 2, published in 1990. The comic, a man named Kirsten DeWitt accused Tony Stark of stealing his father's design, uses technology given to him by Desmond and Phoebe Mars, owners of Mars Corporation with an extra R. That's stolen from G.I. Joe, because that's Destro's company, Mars Armaments. That's really thin. I hope I don't have to Bob Layton to blame for that one. Bobby, you and I might have to have a chat.
John
What's
Byrne.
that?
That's John Byrne.
Well, we can blame Byrne for a lot of things, but that's because he won't talk to us. Rhodes helped Stark in the final battle. In the film, DeWitt was replaced by Ivan Vanko. The Mars siblings are replaced with Justin Hammer. The comic also utilized remote-controlled empty armor suits, which appear in Iron Man 3. And then finally, as Peter had mentioned, or as Kurt had mentioned, just to flesh out, during the climactic Stark Expo battle, Tony saves a young man wearing an Iron Man helmet from one of the robotic drones. Not the helmet was from the drone, but he saved it from the drone. Several fans have speculated this boy may have been a young Peter Parker, better known as Spider-Man. Since the Spider-Man franchise is owned by Sony Pictures, the character could not be explicitly used in any Marvel film at any time. However, the deal was made later on, obviously, to bring Spider-Man into the fold. Given that the Stark Expo was held in Queens, which is where Parker was from, the boy seems to have been the right age by the time of Captain America: Civil War. The theory grew stronger. Spider-Man performer Tom Holland confirmed the theory shortly before the release of Spider-Man: Homecoming in 2017. I thought it was Feige that said it was real, because it really means more coming from Feige than no offense to Tom Holland, who's now one of the most successful actors of all time, thanks to being in 2 hugely grossing films just this very summer. But yeah, I thought it was Feige that said that. So, all right. Well, good stuff. Guys, next, and Kurt, you're part of the squad now where we're going to do these. So it's on the schedule, but I think maybe sometime later in the fall or early winter, we'll get into the Incredible Hulk. And I think we might have to work really hard to find something great to say about it, because that movie is a bit of a struggle.
I can say some good things about it.
Me too.
So, and the fact that it somehow got a sequel in Captain America: Brave New World is something else we're going to have to talk about. But at any rate,
that's a different thing.
This has been a blast. I'm happy that we're doing this. Like I said, the ultimate goal is to get all the way through these, so that if you go back. And we're about to, this is episode 583 of the show. By the time the year is over, we'll have hit 600 episodes, which is super psyched. I'd love to be able to say, by the time we continue to go, we will have covered every MCU film, since comic books are such a very big part of what we do here. But everybody, thanks for tuning in. Kurt, where do people find you out there if they want to talk about Iron Man films?
I'm on Facebook, Kurt Anthony Krug.
Excellent. Peter, what about you?
You can find me around the interwebs at Petrus Aquinas on most social media platforms. I am not terribly active, but if you poke at me and say, hey, I want to argue about Justin Hammer, feel free. I might say something. Otherwise, you can find me on ELH's Twitch, Discord, and such, where we do Star Trek role-playing games, and you can find me behind the scenes on Starship Excelsior.
Excellent. And I run the Secret Friends Unite social medias, which you find just about everywhere as Secret Friends Unite, except for TikTok and what's the other one we don't do? X. Back to Elon Musk. But my personal socials, I duplicate a lot of that as well. That's at the C3, THECEETHREE. I've also gotten a little more consistent with doing my 3-minute kitchen chats, where I'm catching up on stuff that we don't get to talk about on the show, because there's just always so much stuff to talk about. You can find that on our YouTube channel, and then on all of my socials and all the Secret Friends Unite socials. Send us an email if you like to write stuff at secretfriendsunite@gmail.com. Talk to us about stuff you're enjoying, thoughts about what we've talked about on the show, and we could feature that in a future program or on one of our social media feeds. But with that, friends, as always, and of course, secretfriendsunite.com is our website. Patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite is where you sign up to support the show and get lots of great bonus content. But with that, friends, I'm going to bid you adieu. I'm going to tell you as always that sharing is caring, and to keep on trucking.
With great power comes great responsibility.
What those guys said. One more, Kurt, you first.
Avengers assemble.
There you go. With great power comes great responsibility.
We'll workshop that a little next time. Good night, everybody.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and podcast services around the galaxy, as well as video on our YouTube channel. You can support Secret Friends Unite by becoming a Patreon member, get bonus programs and more over at patreon.com/secretfriendsunite. Join our Discord community for even more discussions on all things geek. For all the latest updates on Secret Friends Unite, make sure to follow us on Threads at secret.friends.unite and visit secretfriendsunite.com. Find our merchandise at TeePublic and Redbubble. Thanks for listening, and may the Force live long and prosper.